Adab, Salam, Namaskar. Welcome to New India Education Trust Beyond Classroom Motivation Web Series. Friends, in this series, we bring you those successful people, who have really succeeded in their life and in their career, and very young people. So today, our special guest is Ms.Nita Bhatkar. She's a very dynamic, lady. She's working as senior manager for public relations and corporate social responsibility for the Kuwait-based aviation service provider, National Aviation Services, that is called NAS. A very seasoned PR professional, Nita has over 2 decades of experience in different fields, in marketing, public relations, branding, etc. She has been anchoring. She has, worked as a journalist in a very popular newspaper, Times Kuwait. So Nita has worked in different fields. Today we will know more about her, especially about her education, where she had her education and her journey. I'm sure she will share with us, and I'm sure that many youngsters will get inspired by her success story. Nita, welcome to this motivational web series.
Thank you so much, Dr. Anis. It's a pleasure to be here. Sabse pehle, walaikum assalam. And thank you for the generous praise. I think you've kind of summarized my whole journey in a few words. It's a pleasure to be here and to share my experiences with everyone. I was told that everyone would like to hear about my career, my education, and my life journey in general. So I think I'll have a few interesting tidbits for everybody. But just to talk about my background, I was born in Kuwait, I was raised in Kuwait. And as they say, fate, you decide on something and then fate has something else for you. So when I was 14, Kuwait was invaded by Iraq. And till now I joke about it. I say, Saddam Hussein kind of diverted my life's journey after the invasion of Kuwait. So normally I would have been in Kuwait till my 12th grade, gone off to study further. But because of the invasion, I had to go as a refugee to India. I actually left without my parents first. So it was the first time in my life I lived without my parents. I did my 9th.
Must have been a very tough time, yes, of course.
Very tough, very tough. I mean, we didn't even spend one night away from our parents. And then you can imagine just going away to a new country. I lived with my mama and my mommy, and I was very close to them. But, we don't travel so regularly. We don't stay with them regularly. So it was a whole new experience. We did the whole Basra, Baghdad, Amman, no man's land, the bus journey, the tent. That's for another day, I suppose. It's a very long story.
You were in high school at that time?
I was in high school, yes. So I went to Bombay, Mumbai. I lived with my mama and mommy, as I said. They helped me a lot. They adopted me literally. I did my 9th and my 10th grade there. And a very interesting story I'd like to share about my 9th grade was when I came from here. Back then, I'm not as young as people perceive me to be, but back then, French was not compulsory or you couldn't choose French till the 9th grade. So I had only Hindi as a background. And I spoke Marathi, which is my mother tongue. So when I went to the convent school, Canossa Convent School for admission as a refugee, they asked me, we don't have space in French, we don't have space in Hindi. Hindi was, I think, one of the subjects. You can take Marathi or Sanskrit. Now, Sanskrit was totally over my head. I didn't know anything about it. But luckily, I spoke Marathi and I knew the Hindi script. So that took me a long way. The principal, who fortunately had the same name as me, Sister Nita, said, we would love to have you as a Marathi student. And that's how I got admission in school, because I knew a little bit of Marathi to start with.
So that was a great help, yeah.
Yes. So that's how my journey in Mumbai started. I did my 10th, my SSC, it was called. And then I went back to my hometown where my mom and my brother were living. It's a place called Ratnagiri. It's in Maharashtra. And I did my 11th and my 12th. I took up science and I studied there for 2 years to do my 12th grade.
So Ratnagiri, you are originally from Ratnagiri?
Yes, my father is from there. My
Ratnagiri is very famous for, I think, for mango, a special kind of mango, Alfonso. It's very famous. Okay.
Yes. And
So
all the sweet people, I guess, come from there. So
that's right. No doubt about that. Yes. So that was your education journey. Then after grade 12, where did you join a college?
So this is where the twist comes in. So in grade 12, although I took science, and I think before I took science in 11th grade, I always had in mind to become a psychologist. I wanted to do, yeah, psychology. That was my interest and my liking. But unfortunately, when I went to Ratnagiri, psychology was being taught in Marathi. And, knowing the language is one thing, but studying in a language and doing your exams would have been very tough for me. So the next best option was science. So I took up science. I had the right marks to get in for science, and I did my science. Then it was just an open playing field. As usual, parents want you to become a doctor or an engineer. I had good grades. I was, I think, a reasonably smart child. So my parents also wanted me to get into one of these lines.
That is usually parents do like that. Indian parents especially do like that.
Exactly. And my father came from a technology background, so I think he wanted that for me. So I was open. I was not very firm on what I want to study further, but I had an interest in biology. So I said, chalo, medicine is a good field to get in. So I was supposed to appear for my medical entrance exam, but before that, my father called us to Kuwait for a holiday. Okay. And this was after we traveled, after the invasion, first time we came to Kuwait.
After how many years?
After almost 4.5 years, 4 years.
Okay.
4 years. So my dad had moved back to Kuwait about 2 years ago. So we hadn't met for 2 years. So it was a big thing for us to come back and join him. And then, of course, after we came back, when we started living again as one unit and one family, I just didn't want to go back. So, but my parents were very understanding. I skipped the medical exam. They were fine with it. Kuwait had started doing private education then for graduation level. And there was a computer science course that I could take up, a BSc in computer science, which I knew when I came to Kuwait. So I said, okay, I will do that. That's also in the technology line. It's not such a bad thing to get into. And I said, let's do that. Again, life has another journey planned. That year, they decided not
many twists and turns are there.
Many. It's like a total Hindi movie, airlift parallel. So my journey changed again. When I came here, they said, we're not starting classes. So I was like, okay, I'll have to take a break for 1 year. I'll go back to India. I'll continue my education there. My best friend was also here in Kuwait with me. So we both decided the same place that we were going to do our BSc had a course in computer hardware and software. They called it engineering, but it was a diploma. So I didn't want to sit idle. I said, let's do that. I started giving tuitions on the side. And that's how my educational journey started. I did my computer course. 1 year later, they offered us a bachelor's in business administration. They said, we're starting that. Okay. I said, why not? Let's start that. So we started doing bachelor's in business administration. When I was in my third year, I started doing telemarketing on the side, always trying to be a little industrious, make some pocket money on the side. And I was fortunately introduced to a gentleman called Mr. Even D'Souza, who was the editor or managing editor of the Times newspaper back then. He saw that, I had a knack for asking questions because we were at an event where we were volunteering for the ZTV Antakshri that was happening in Kuwait. Mm-hmm. So I asked a couple of questions and he said, why don't you consider working for us? And I said, I've never done this. I don't know how I would do it. And he's like, how would you know till you don't try? So I said, I had a knack for writing anyways. So I got into that.
That was a good motivation from him.
Excellent motivation. I think I owe him a lot in my journey. So I got into telemarketing with them. Then I had a knack for writing. So I started covering events for them. Did so many events at the Indian Embassy, a lot of Kuwait-based cultural events, got to meet so many celebrities, got to do so much. I think it shaped so much of my education. We say education is learning you derive when you read and write and, get a degree. But I think I learned a lot that way. So that took me on the course of journalism.
Journalism. So
And
that was your first career, you can say, that
yes,
into
yes,
journalism, and that too without any experience, without any qualification for
exactly.
journalism, no diploma, no certificate, no degree. But it was, I
Nothing.
think, Mr. Revan D'Souza, I know, who trusted you and who just saw that hidden talent in you, and he asked you to be part of Times Kuwait.
Exactly. And I'd
Yeah.
finished my graduation by the first year after I joined Times. I finished my graduation. But back then I was just enjoying it so much and I was learning so much that there was no ways I could think of another career after that. So slowly and steadily I worked up the ranks. I even learned designing with them. So, I'm quite skilled at doing graphics and things like that. And I also got an offer from Kuwait TV in parallel. And I was given permission to do that part-time. So I worked with Kuwait TV, with Kuwait Radio. And because of Kuwait Radio, again, my path into emceeing and being an anchor and a host for events started. I learned about events and what goes on in the background. We did so many celebrity events. I think that's one of the things that I would like to highlight is, my journey started probably back in the day with Kavita Krishnamurthy and Sudesh Bhosle and Abhijit. That was the era of top singers then.
Yeah, of course.
And most recently, I've done shows for Arijit Singh and for Atif Aslam, Sunidhi Chauhan. I think I'm really blessed in that way.
I think
So the career,
it was purely because of your talent that you had, because you didn't have any proper education into journalism, anchoring, writing articles or anything like that. You never had any education for that, never properly trained for that. But because you had your hidden talent, in you, that is why you have been successful. I've seen many of your programs where you had, done the anchoring, hosting the programs, and I'm sure, you have done really wonderful job in that. Then marketing, public relations, and branding. Now, these are
yes,
three different areas. How did you
yes.
manage all these?
So this is how the journey starts, right? We start again, at times a base was laid. I was doing marketing, I was doing PR, I was doing designing. So I learned the whole creative process. I learned marketing. And of course I did, study on the side. I did little courses to generate the knowledge required behind the experience, because you can't balance only experience. You can do on the job, but you also need a little bit of the knowledge and skills. And I think we live in a time where knowledge has become very accessible. So you can spend 30 minutes of your day and learn so many different new things. So that's how I balanced it out. I started working for a PR firm after Times. It was, again, I was encouraged to join the PR firm by Revan D'Souza. He said, please do go. It's a good career opportunity. I worked with them. I got into the field of PR, which started with, again, writing press releases, doing media relations, doing media monitoring, and got into client servicing and understanding the business. And there again, there was a lovely British lady, Mrs. Jane Williscroft, who basically introduced me to PR and built my PR career. I worked with many great people after that as well. Emiranda Winter is one of them. I can name many names. And after ASDA, I got the opportunity to work client side. So, in the agency, you're servicing clients, but then you go to the client side, which is where you're focused, which is, I think, where I wanted to be. By then, I knew exactly what I wanted in life. I'd grown up probably, and I was like, yes, I want to be doing PR for a company where I can focus my skills. And that is where, I started handling marketing. One of the biggest successes that I can count in my career is I was a part of the team that rebranded the company Agility. So for those of you that know, Agility was called Public Warehousing Company back in the day. In 2006, after several acquisitions around the world, they decided to come up with one brand name for all these companies, and it was Agility. It was, I don't want to name figures, but it was quite an expensive, project, and I was a part of it to basically rename Agility around the world. So I was quite lucky to be a part of that as well.
That's great. As a journalist, what advice would you give, to some, aspiring students who want to take up that job? they want to come into the media, especially print media, especially. I'm not talking about electronic media, but print media. Though print media is now, slowly it's going down. It's mostly now electronic media. So, do you have any particular advice for them? Though you didn't have any particular training for that, but you have been very successful.
So my training was all from my, seniors,
yeah.
like that,
Yeah.
and the experience that I did on the job. But I think, at the end of the day, it is what you like to do and what you want to do. But as I said, it has to be balanced with a little bit of education.
I think that is more important, what exactly you want to do, what you like and what you love to do.
Exactly. And you will never get it right the first instance, right? Like I can tell you, I'm the mother of a 12-year-old child. I keep asking my son, what do you want to be when you grow up? And it changes. At the age of 3, it was a fireman. Then it was a football star. Now I think, he's not even clear. And we sometimes pressure our kids a lot to make up a decision, but it's not easy because at the age of 17, 18, sometimes they're not ready for the big world, especially the kids born and brought up in Kuwait. They're so cocooned. It's a little difficult for them to be exposed, especially in the Indian system of education. So I think just giving them the freedom to choose, it's fine. If they take science, I did science, I got into like a stream that was arts related, and now I'm again back in a commerce related line, if you look at it that way, right? Marketing. But it just depends. It depends on the child's skill. It depends on the child's interest. It depends on what they want to do. So if it's journalism, great. You need to have some basic skills like, writing the English language or whatever language you decide to write in. But you also need to be familiar with new age media because print media, as you said, is slowly slowing down.
Yeah.
So you need to balance it out with new age media, social media, digital, that's the way forward. So definitely get into the line. It's very exciting, but you have to be ready for sleepless nights. I didn't do that so much in Kuwait because I was a reporter and it was a weekly newspaper, but daily news and media is cutthroat. And, especially if you're practicing in a place like India, which is very competitive.
Yeah, very competitive.
But exciting.
Yeah. Nita, I've seen you working, in the, for the society as well. I know you are a member of Indian Women's Association and you have been very, very active member. What does this association, Indian Women's Association, especially, doing for as a welfare for the society? What do they do really?
So the Indian Women's Association was established over 2 decades ago. So that was more than, I think now it's almost 25 years old. And I joined about 12 or 13 years ago. And what the Indian Women's Association does is primarily it's a voluntary organization. So we are the facilitators between getting help in different forms. It could be any kind of help that an organization or a community needs, and we provide that. So if you look at Kuwait, if there is, we do share to care hampers, which is groceries and daily needs that we distribute to the laborers or the working class that don't necessarily make, the enough income to support themselves every month. So we try and help with things like that. We also do scholarships. So all the schools, most of the Indian schools in Kuwait work with us where they will submit to us forms or applications of children that are in need of help with their fees. And we will then consider the application and then facilitate that also in terms of paying fees for one term. We're a small group of ladies, that's 30 ladies. We also volunteer at the Kuwait Handicap Society. These are some of the projects in Kuwait. We also have a lot of projects in India where we support children affected by AIDS with their education, tuitions, things like that. We support children suffering from cancer. We would like to say fighting cancer rather than suffering. People with thalassemia, special needs children, we help with their education and their vocational guidance. We have different projects running all over India. So these are just a gist of what we do. It's a huge topic. Again, we can cover it.
Certainly, that's really a great job. Giving back to the society, working for the society, and downtrodden people and children, those who really need. You have been doing that, and through Indian Women Association. Now you have been born and brought up in Kuwait. Then during that troubled time, you went to India. So I feel you are more of Kuwaiti and less of Indian.
I would say a mix of both. If someone asks me, I think I'm a mix of both. So for me, my love for Kuwait is the same as India. We still go to India. We're connected to our roots. Although, my father passed away, so he's no more. He's buried here in Kuwait. So I have that tie with Kuwait. My mom is here with me. But we still have a lot of relatives. My husband's side of the family has base in India, in the US. So we're quite connected to both countries. I can't pick favorites. I really can't.
No, I think Indian community, Indian community here in Kuwait, I think is the most preferable community as far as, Kuwaitis are concerned. And the relationship between India and Kuwait, has been, great relationship between the two countries. And I think that is the reason that the Kuwaitis, they love Indians, Yes. So do you have any comment about the Indians working in Kuwait? Because Indians are the second, largest community after Kuwaitis in Kuwait.
Yes. Yes, we are the largest community. And I think, when you work in Kuwait, Kuwait does give you a lot. And we're very grateful for that. India-Kuwait ties have always been historically very strong. I think we are actually celebrating 60 years of this Indo-Kuwait friendship as well. And I think, it's good to be an Indian in Kuwait, good to experience what we're experiencing. But of course, there are exceptions to every rule. You do have people from all different stratas of society. Some may not have it as easy as we do, but alhamdulillah, we are blessed.
Alhamdulillah, alhamdulillah, there's no doubt about that. Yes, I'm coming towards the last question that would be about, because you as a mother, as parent, your child is around 12 years old. Naturally, now he will be, after a few years, or this is the right time actually to decide where the child should go. So do you have any particular advice for the parents? Usually, as we talked in the beginning, that Indian parents usually, they force their child into some stream. They sometimes do not try to find out the talent or the interest of the child, what the child likes. We have seen what happened in a movie known as Three Idiots, where the parents force the children to do something which the children did not like at all. So do you have any advice for such parents and for children?
Yes, coming from where I'm coming from, I have one son, and alhamdulillah, we can provide for him. If parents are in this situation where they're not in a financial crunch, where they need to have the child finish his education and start working, maybe to support the family or whatever, if they have that flexibility, I think just let your children be. Even in that scenario, let your children be. Let them choose what they want to do. Maybe they'll make a mistake, maybe they'll go down the wrong career path and then realize they don't want that career path and go and choose something else. Let them be, let them make their mistakes, let them learn. These are all life's lessons. They will learn every step of the way. Just be there to guide them and encourage them. Because if we don't encourage them, I can tell you from my experience, I'm so grateful for the encouragement given to me by my mother and father, because that is what has made me today. If I'm even, 10% successful in my life or in my career, I'm very, very grateful to them. And, having that flexibility.
Yeah. And, proper guidance, children, what they need the proper guidance from the parents, and the love and affection. It's not that, and the parents should understand what the child really needs and what are the interests of the child. And accordingly, we should guide, as parents, we should guide our children. Nita, thank you for sparing your time. I know you must be very busy. You are in the office. And once again, I thank you for this valuable time. I'm sure those who will listen to your success story, I'm sure many of them will surely get inspired. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Dr. Anis.
So friends, that was our wonderful guest today, Ms.Nita Bhatkar, who is a very successful woman and working as senior manager for public relations and corporate social responsibility with National Aviation Services, Kuwait. I'm sure her success story will inspire many of you, because she had been through difficult times, but she never gave up. And today you see how successful she is. Kindly like and share this video with your friends and relatives. And don't forget to ask them to subscribe this channel, New India Education Trust Beyond Classroom. This is your own channel. Thank you. Have a great time.